on nourishing our mind, body, and spirit right here in Good Morning Washington. But many people fall into the misconception that self-care simply just takes too much time.
Yeah, so here to offer some clarity with 4 ways to master self-care in 10 minutes or less is work-life balance coach Nicole Tsong. And Nicole, so good to see you. And we just mentioned that people feel like they don't have time for self-care. And I know that this leads us to your first tip. So what should we be doing?
Good morning to both of you. So nice to be here with you. And really, one of the big things I hear from so many people, especially from my coaching clients, is they don't have enough time. Everyone says, I don't have enough time to do self-care. I'm overwhelmed. I'm overextended. And so really, the first thing to do is do what I call a time audit. And the cool thing is about our phones have a very honest time audit capacity on there telling you about your screen time. And then on there, you can actually really find out how much time you're spending doing things like scrolling social media. So if you go on there and you check in and you see that you're spending at least an hour or more on social media per day, I promise you, you have 10 minutes for self-care.
I'm already in the negative on my minutes of the day. All I have for self-care is like 10 minutes. Do you have a rule that I can get done in 10 minutes?
I do. And 10 minutes is actually one of my favorite ways to think about it, because for most of us, so I tend to work with a lot of perfectionists, people who are all in, all or nothing. I only can do an hour or more of self-care per day. And really, when we start to chunk it up into increments of 10 minutes or so, it gets to be so much easier. And one of my favorite ways to do this is actually first thing in the morning. And then really with 10 minutes, it's much harder for us to say, I don't have 10 minutes. You're like, okay, I can do this. And to really get up in the morning and reserve the first 10 minutes of the day, phone free, and actually use this to do it for self-care. So you could journal, you could meditate, you could do some stretches by your bed, whatever really works best for you. Take a shower, just really get yourself set and steady for the day.
I have to say, I have actually started a little bit of that in the morning and granted, it's only maybe 5 or 10 minutes, but it really does make a big impact. I know, Nicole, you're also a big fan of sticky notes. So tell me how that comes into play with our self-care.
Sure. I love that you're doing this, Eileen, because really for all of my clients, I say this is a game changer to start the day this way. And one of the big things now, what we're doing is starting to establish a new habit. And the studies show it takes roughly 60 days or so to do that. So the best thing you need to do is actually create some reminders for yourself to do this, so that when you're in that moment, you're like, I really don't want to do it. I don't have any time this morning. You have the reminder like, no, I'm committed. It's only 10 minutes. And so having a reminder close to your bed, and really just like the first thing I get up, I do this. And so you could roll a yoga mat out by your bed or have your meditation cushion right there. But I love a neon sticky note, because then there's just no getting around it. It says right there, self-care. It's like on your nightstand, or it's on your lamp, or on the wall above your phone. So you know that's the first thing you're going to do.
That's helpful. Now, Nicole, we were talking earlier, and I was saying how I like to celebrate my small wins with a little latte. How does celebrating align with self-care?
So really, one of the big things I feel from so many of the women I work with is they're really hard on themselves when they don't do something. So I love to start celebrating things that are difficult for us to do or feel like a little bit of a challenge. And it can feel like a challenge putting aside 10 minutes for yourself in the morning. So I'm a big fan of every time you do something that feels just a little bit challenging, you give yourself a win. You could do a self high five. You could say, good job to me. And this is really essential, because the more you're celebrating the wins, the more it starts to compound. And this is something I find is really important for people, is to start to deepen into these practices. And for people who are looking for like, okay, how do I really start to deepen into this? I actually have a 5-day morning challenge on my website at NicoleTsong.com, where you can actually start to see how do you start to really bring these new practices into your life, so you can start your day feeling clear and steady and grounded.
Oh my gosh, Nicole, I am actually going to go to the website and get that stuff right now. So website is on your screen right now. Go and connect with Nicole. Thank you so much for so many of these great, helpful tips for us.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.